Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we got to talk about TNA because TNA had another pay-per-view, Sacrifice, March the 8th, 2023. We also going to talk about the regular TNA show within Sacrifice because I had to watch it. So I watched 5 hours of TNA. So you don't have to. Oh boy. And it was something. It was something. These shows are getting harder and harder to sit through. I swear to Jesus. And then they're making such bad decisions. But what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to mention the roster. Okay? I know I usually do that every time. Every damn time I do a TNA pay-per-view, I rant and rave on the roster. I'm not going to do that this time. This time we're going to rant and rave about the booking. Because the booking is the same. Despite the fact that Scott D'Amore is gone. The creative committee, I guess, as you could say, is still in place. It's the same people. So the same people are in the same positions. And the the same talent are in the same positions, and we're getting the same outcome. But I did see something that I thought was very interesting that I want to discuss probably at the end of the show. We'll talk about it at the end instead of talking about it at the beginning. It got something to do with Scott D'Amore. We'll talk about it at the end. So let's get into Sacrifice. For starters, they had really terrible technical issues throughout the show, but specifically for the first couple of matches. It kept going out. The feed kept cutting out, which is like the first time I've seen this at a TNA event, which tells me that, maybe they got some scrubs running. I don't know if maybe it was extreme weather. They were in Windsor, so I don't think it was that bad. I'm in Detroit. It's not that far away from Windsor. I don't think it was particularly bad over there in terms of weather. So it's got to be something to do with TNA themselves. All right. So the Radicals weren't on this show. Instead, they were on the pre-show. Oh, I'm sorry, the Rascals. Oh, I call them the Radicals. They were on the pre-show, losing to Trent Seven and Mike Bailey. So, how about that? Two guys who've been in your company for a long time. The crowd knows them, and you booked them to lose to Chumbawamba Trent Seven and Barefoot Mike Bailey. Okay. Match 1. Nick Namath defeats Steve Macklin. A lot of technical issues in this match, so there were some blurry vision. The feed cut out a couple of times, but it seemed like both guys worked very hard. Steve Macklin has been upset that Dolph Ziggler has Nick Namath has come into TNA and positioned himself at the top, despite the fact that Nick Namath was willing to come in and start at the bottom and start from to work his way up to being the world champion. Steve Macklin felt like he was a gatekeeper, like he was going to be the guy who was going to prevent Nick Namath from being the world champion. He was incorrect. They did some interesting things on the TV show where they had Steve Macklin cut a promo which explained what I just said, that he doesn't believe that Nick Namath wants to start at the bottom. He doesn't believe that Nick Namath is willing to prove himself, and his proof of that is that Nick Namath had not been on TNA TV, that he'd been over in Japan wrestling Tanahashi and winning that global championship. And he says that, well, if he's not going to show up, I'm not going to show up. So they were doing this thing where it was like, I guess, a live stream from Macklin's hotel room, and then his door opened and he got beat up by Nick Namath, who apparently just found him in his hotel room and beat his ass and left him laying there, which did not make Macklin look very good. Didn't make him look great, but the match was fine. I can't complain too much about this. The second match on the show, the TNA Tag Team Championship, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers defeated Ace Austin and Chris Bay to win the Tag Team Championship. The System, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. I said I wasn't going to say nothing else about the roster, but when you have the last Ronin, Eddie Edwards, winning tag team championships over your young guys, and there's no real good reason for it to happen, when Brian Myers, who is he's an absolute bum, is winning championships at this point in his career, I don't know what to say. What's going on? What's the plan here? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's more to this than meets the eye. Even if, look, at this point, ABC has lost these titles and won them back so many times. It's time to break these guys up and let them do something else. If that's the plan, then it's still not worth it because Eddie Edwards is a champion. But it would be something. It would be better than this. Them constantly losing the belts to random teams and then winning them back. That sucks. This sucks. This was dumb. The third match on the show, PCO defeated Khan, who was Connor of the Ascension. This was to see who was the baddest man in TNA, because Khan says he's the monster, and PCO called himself the monster, so we got to see who the real monster is. And of course, the match of no disqualification because PCO, I mean, he's 60 some odd years old and just insists on taking a bunch of bumps. He took a bump off the stage. It was a choke slam off the stage through a table, which was not the finish, of course, because PCO won the match, which was a moonsault onto a stack of chairs. Who cares about this? Nobody cares about this. Yeah, nobody cares. Let's just move on quickly. Joe Hendry ended up challenging Top Dollar AJ Francis to a match on Thursday. Joe Hendry ended up losing to Crazy Steve on the pre-show. So I know a lot of people like Joe Hendry. TNA apparently doesn't like Joe Hendry because despite being a pretty young guy, he doesn't have, he's not out of shape. The more out of shape you are and the older you are, the more likely you are to get pushed in TNA. If you're a young guy who's in relatively good shape, especially if you can talk, you're not likely to make it far at all in TNA, which is shocking that a company that is fighting to be third place in the United States in terms of wrestling promotion would make the decisions that they've been making. It's just shocking that they choose to do this. Anyway, Joe Hendry versus Top Dollar. It's a thing that's going to happen. All right. The fourth match on the show, the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, Jody Threat and Danny Luna, together known as Spitfire, defeated MK Ultra, which is Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich. Okay, so I've said that Danny Luna and Jody Threat look like a woman and her daughter in a tag team, and I don't know how else to put it, but Jody Threat just looks like she jumped right out of a trailer park in Warren, Michigan, and decided to start wrestling, and it's fine, I guess. Danny Luna, of course, like I said before, NXT UK, they're now the tag team champions. They've been building this up. On television, they had Danny Luna actually pin Masha Slamovich. It was kind of like a fluke win, but it was to get momentum. After this match, however, Masha Slamovich actually blamed Killer Kelly for losing. She shoved her, and it looked like they're about to break these girls up. MK Ultra is in the same position as ABC. It was a good tag team, but it's a very, very shallow division. So they constantly feel the need to pitch the belts back and forth. MK Ultra needs to be done. Their Knockouts division needs credible challengers. Just let it be over. Masha Slamovich should be challenger for the title. She's very good. Killer Kelly can do that too. She's also very good. You need a stronger division. And I'm not sure. It doesn't matter, really, at this point, who the tag team champions are in terms of the women's division. But if it's going to be Jody Threat and Danny Luna, who cares? All right. If you're going to break up MK Ultra, okay, fine. I don't care. All right. The fifth match on the show, Josh Alexander is defeated by Hammerstone. He's not going by Alexander Hammerstone. He's just going by Hammerstone, which was smart because Josh Alexander versus Alexander Hammerstone. Okay. Hammerstone, great talent. Did a really good match here. The match was kind of long, maybe a little too long. I'm not a huge fan of Josh Alexander. I've been very vocal about that. I was also not a fan of how long this match was. This was the second match in their series of matches. I'm guessing they're going to end up having another one because Alexander Hammerstone turned heel in this match and kicked Josh Alexander in the nutsack right before the finish, which was the Nightmare Pendulum. Solid enough match, just a little too long for my liking. Just a little too long. We need to be able to get to really good matches without the length, and also maybe give Hammerstone an opportunity to sell his personality some. I don't think he made any TV appearances since he's been signed. I know maybe this is his first date since he's official on the roster, but he hasn't appeared on the television to talk. which is unfortunate. But maybe now he'll have the opportunity. All right. So Time Machine, which is Kushida and the Motor City Machine Guns, they were backstage, and Kushida refused to apologize to Alex Shelley for throwing in the towel. He felt like he made the right decision. And Chris Sabin said that they're bros when they argue a lot, and bros come together when it's time to overcome. Now, the storyline here is that Alex Shelley's been acting weird. On the television program, Shelley was upset at Chris Sabin for not being in his corner for the no surrender match. The match in which the only way to win was to have your partner throw in the towel. Now, Chris Sabin wasn't in the guy's corner because Alex Shelley didn't want him in the corner. He wanted him to focus on the X Division title. But Alex Shelley said, well, I didn't expect Kushida to throw in the towel. You know, it would have been nice if you would have been there. And so he's kind of being upset at both of them. And they're telling this story that Shelley is getting kind of frustrated with these two guys. And they're becoming a little bit more frustrated with him. And they go into the match, which is a 6-man tag versus Ali and the Grizzle Young Veterans. Now, this team was put together on the Thursday show. The good Hands, who were the original partners for Mustafa Ali, ended up losing to the Time Splitters, which was the team of Kushida and Alex Shelley. After the match, they went to Ali and told him, hey, look, this was a fact-finding mission. We figured it out. We figured out how to beat these guys. And Ali thanked them for their help on the campaign, quote unquote, but said that he realizes that he underestimated the Time Splitters and he has to create a new strategy. And the new strategy was to replace these guys with the Grizzle Young Vets. So that's what he did. He replaced them and he won the match. Ali ends up pinning Alex Shelley with the 450 splash. And Mustafa Ali's been getting a pretty good run out of TNA. He defeated Kevin Knight on the Thursday show. Kevin Knight's a pretty good young guy. I mean, he's incredibly talented, athletic as hell. Wish they would do something with him. Again, the younger you are, the more athletic you are in TNA, the more likely you are to just be a jabroni. They don't do much in terms of trying to get those guys over and get over their personas and everything. They just kind of throw them out there to get beat, and that's pretty much it. And that's very unfortunate because it's been happening with the Rascals. It's been happening with Austin Bay, and it's been now happening to Kevin Knight. It's very unfortunate. In any event, Mustafa Ali and the Grizzly Young Vets defeated Motor City Machine Guns and Kushida, which continues Alex Shelley's downslide, and he's probably going to blame these guys for losing again. Okie dokie, the 7th match on the show. Jordan Grace defeated Tasha Steelz and Zaya Brookside in a triple threat match. This match came about because Tasha Steelz and Zaya Brookside had been having a feud. Their feud led to, I think, them winning one match apiece. And the third match was supposed to be a number one contenders match, and it ended in disqualification or a double count out or something to that effect. And Jordan Grace volunteered to fight both of them. Now, this triple threat match was pretty solid. A lot of it was Jordan Grace doing power spots, like she would twirl both girls around simultaneously and all this kind of stuff was because they're both very small. Zaya Brookside is probably like 28 pounds and Tasha Steelz is probably not much bigger. They're both tiny. So Jordan Grace pretty much launching them both into orbit again and again is pretty entertaining. Also, you had Ash by Elegance sitting ringside. Her concierge, I don't know who that guy is, but he's very good. The guy who is the concierge for Ash by Elegance, he's pretty damn funny. He's a funny guy. He was really funny on the Thursday show when he tried to give her opponent, because Ash, I'm going to keep calling her Dana Brooke. She wrestled on the Thursday show. She wrestled some jobber. And he interacted with the jobber girl, and he was pretty funny at that point too. It was pretty good. But the point of this thing is Ash is watching the championship match, and she's drinking champagne. Zaya Brookside ends up throwing Tasha Steelz into her. She spills her champagne. She freaks out and leaves. That's not very good in terms of character development, but I guess they're going to give Ash and the Zaya Brookside and Ash are going to have a thing, maybe. I don't know, but Concierge is really good. He's funny. Jordan Grace is doing a lot to try to carry this division, but they're not giving her a lot of competition. She needs. This is why this is a positive thing about them maybe splitting up MK Ultra, is that she can do some stuff with Masha Slamovich and maybe do some stuff with Killer Kelly. It could be fun. The main event of the evening, man, I suffered through this. This was super, super long. Eric Young versus Moose for the TNA World Title. And of course, Moose wins. Who cares about these people? Really, genuinely, truly, who gives a damn about these people? Eric Young comes out on the Thursday show in an absolutely awful, uncharacteristic shirt. It's like green with yellow stuff in it. It's like pineapples all over it or something. Like, his gimmick is that he wears like a Marvel superhero, or, you know, I think it was Doctor Doom one time, and I think it was Carnage on this show. Like, he does like superheroes and stuff, but he's supposed to be like a maniac, and he comes out and he's dressing like a dad at the beach. Like, you have to understand your character here. It is ridiculous. Anyway, on the Thursday show, he cut a promo saying that Sacrifice is a way of life and that he gave everything to this company and would do it again. And one of the things that he desires is the thing that is on Moose's shoulder. And he can't come out here and guarantee results, but he will guarantees that he's going to keep coming. And at Sacrifice, he will be playing for keeps. Moose came out there and said that Eric Young had been in TNA for a long time. And at Sacrifice, his time in TNA will be over. He being Eric Young, of course. So you could bring all your passion, you could bring all the sacrifices you've made, but the outcome will be the same. He then said that he don't want to wait till Sacrifice. He wants to fight, no disqualification right now, and Eric Young was down for it. Then Eric Young got jumped by Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. They then proceeded to thoroughly kick the ass of Eric Young using Moose's new tactic of wrapping his shoulders in chain and spearing people. So Eric Young came into this match with busted up ribs, and this felt like this match still went on forever. It just went on forever before Moose finally won the match. Jesus H. Christ. Oh, Eric Young is still in the main event of shows. This guy has no business main eventing one show, and he's main eventing all over the place. Jesus Christ. They need absolutely, they need something different going on in TNA. I don't know what to tell you. The show was not very good. I actually have liked other shows more than I liked this one. This one was probably one of the weakest shows that they've had in a really long time. It was just very not good. Just a very not good show. Not fun. Not fun to watch. It was tough to sit through. But I want to talk about, I said I wasn't going to mention the roster too much anymore, but I do want to talk about it one time. Because there was an article posted about Windsor. And the idea that TNA probably would run Windsor fewer times than they used to, because Scott D'Amore doesn't work there anymore. So they figure, oh, there's going to be less wrestling in Windsor. And the TNA officials, the management, the new management, were basically like, no, that's not true. We're not going to run Windsor less because Scott D'Amore isn't here anymore. And I didn't know this at the time, or at least I didn't remember it, if I did know it. But Scott D'Amore actually owns an independent wrestling company in Windsor. It's called Border City Wrestling. And I was like, okie dokie, didn't know that much about it. But when I looked it up and I saw basically like the people who have been working in and out of Border City Wrestling, and it's a lot of the people who work in TNA. Like a lot. You know, and I don't know how recent this is, but I looked at the Border City Wrestling like Wikipedia account. And I saw that there was a lot of people that was pretty much the same roster that was appearing in TNA. So you have like Giselle Shaw, Jay Chung, Cody Deaner, Jake something, Rohit Raju. There's just way too many people with that's been on TNA TV within the last 2 years. Sheldon Jean is another one, the guy that they had with Kenny King for a short time. And it was like, man, look at the amount of crossover between the guys he was booking for his independent show and the guys he was booking for TNA. It's like, how incestuous could this thing be? It's like half of the roster. You know, it was ridiculous. And I was like, man. This thing gets worse and worse. Like, we knew that some of these people he had actually trained, but now some of these people where he's double dipping. He's, you know, booking them for TNA and for his independent shows. And it's like, wait a minute, nobody else is going to get a goddamn chance in this company because this guy is basically just booking all of his friends in both positions that he's running, both companies that he's running. Of course, there are some minor differences between. There were some guys that were in the Border City shows that didn't make it to TNA or whatever. So it's not like everybody, but it was enough people for me to be like, whoa, that's a lot. You know, it's a lot. And look, I know wrestling is an incestuous business, but god damn, why make it so obvious? You know, you make it super hot. Usually when you try to do little conflict of interest stuff like that, you kind of do it on low key, you know, a person here and there. You know, like Booker T wouldn't have like half his reality of wrestling roster working on TNA and working in NXT, you know? You kind of want to act like it's not guaranteed. You want to act like, you know, people who got there earned it. But when you have like 60% of your roster in the other company that you work for too, it's like, wait a minute, you just blowing it out of proportion. You might as well go ahead and fuse these two companies together at this point. So it's like, yes, they do need to overhaul. And this explains why there were so many people who were upset that Scott got removed. Because a lot of them were required. He's double paying these guys. You know, he's booking them for Border City, and if he's not booking them for Border City, he's booking them for TNA. So yeah, there probably are a lot of people who want, you know, Scott D'Amore to run TNA, so they can keep getting double booked, and they won't actually have somebody come in there and say, you know what? Maybe some of these people aren't good enough. They might have been friends of Scott, but they're not friends of this other guy. But as we said, that the creative team is still in the same place. It's not likely going to change that much, at least not right now. It needs to, because TNA is still a very dry show. I'm hoping that things start to turn around, and that the turn will be slow, and I'm still willing to give it some time. But man, this was a really bad show. It was really bad. All right, thank you for your time. I'll talk to you guys later.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these sleazy